Tonight, I'll be eating fried avocado tacos.
Thank you. Ooh, you gonna eat that at Leslie Palooza?
What? Who's coming to that?
Everyone coming. Everybody. You, her, me, all of us.
Successful producer. What's going on, guys? Thank you all for tuning in to this week's episode of the Storytellers Syndicate podcast, where I interview other DMs and players alike and kind of pick their brains a little bit, have a little chat. And if you guys don't know this man, can you say your channel name? Because I feel like I've been butchering it so hard.
For plausible deniability, it is Cuddle B. Honer.
Okay.
But everybody knows what it's supposed to be.
Okay. I don't. But if you guys don't know who he is, make sure you go to TikTok, check out his channel. He has some really, really funny content, as well as the terrible side quest ideas that I enjoy so much because they're so wild, but they work. That's the great thing about it. Before we start, I want to give a huge thank you to our sponsor of today's stream, Hit Point Press, and their Deck of Many Things. If you guys don't know about the Deck of Many Things or have checked it out on my channel, they make animated decks of the Deck of Many Things that move, and they look so good in person. If you guys want to check them out or check out their 5e sourcebook material, Humblewood, check out my panel down below. Click on the link. If you purchase anything, it gives a kickback to me of 10%, helps out the channel, and helps me improve my content across all platforms. To get started, so if people never seen your channel before, don't know who you are, how would you describe your channel and your content?
It's a bed of chaos because I can't even stick to the thing I started the channel for, which is D&D. I've got tons of D&D, the side quests, like you said, and then I had a random cooking video go relatively viral 2 days ago.
Stuff. and like the stuff that you cook too, besides the Hero Feast stuff, the stuff you cook looks amazing. Like I think that I can barbecue, but I know that I can't. Burgers and ribs, I'm okay. Anything else? No, not a chance.
I missed by about that much going to culinary school, so cooking is just a small hobby, not a big deal in my life at all.
Gotcha. Well, hey man, I know that TikTok is a weird oddity. So the first video I seen from you, and we talked a little bit before, was your kind of big boss for your guild, the snake with 1,000 mage hands. So
yep.
How did you even like come up with that idea for that video? Like, when you posted it, did you think that it was gonna blow up the way it did?
Not at all. So I'd seen I'd been on TikTok for maybe a week, 2 weeks at that point, and I had just gotten all 3 of my new Kobold Press books in because I love different monster manuals, and I saw it and it was like, that has to be my guild master. You know what? I haven't seen anything like this on TikTok. Let's see what happens if I throw it up there. And apparently it was really popular.
I just think because it's just a super odd monster. And,
absolutely.
And like myself, and I'm sure a lot of new other players, they don't know what Kobold Press is, so they don't know that there's this other material that has a bunch of these monsters that range from something with 1,000 mage hands, from what's some other crazy ones I've seen before, like the sand dune monsters, the giant worms. I never would have.
I had another video from Kobold Press, similar concept, for the Necrotech Bone Colossus. And it's a gargantuan, it's basically a golem made of bones. And then if you look at the art, it's got 4 dragon skulls, 2 in the knees, 2 in the shoulders. And I went on a small rant about what kind of necromancers are just out here hanging on to bits of dragons to make a bone golem like this. Right. And the Kobold Press books, you can tell, they either come from some very deranged individuals, or there was a lot of fan-submitted ideas that went into these.
Right.
I love it. I've probably got 30 or 40 little bookmarks in all of my Kobold Press books of individual monsters I plan to go through.
Oh, man, you have to, man. I have one book from Kobold Press, and it's the Tome of Foes, the first one, not the second one. I wanted to start with the first one and then work my way up, because I just pre-ordered Ravenloft, and I was like, I'm just gonna go to Kobold Press and then just see if I can get the first book. And then I told my wife, because my money goes through my wife, I was like,
I know the feeling.
I was like, I don't need this book, but I want it. So it's coming in the mail. Hopefully, I'll find some stuff in there to help me out with some of the campaigns that I have been planning. But
I love undead monsters, and Kobold Press has some really, really cool, really unique undead monsters. There's kind of your stereotypical, oh, it's a sorcerer that died, so now they're a skeletal sorcerer.
right.
And then there are these really weird, like, oh, it died in a swamp, and the swamp was enchanted, so it reanimated the corpse, but the corpse then took on the effects of the swamp. So it's this weird. It's
Wow.
a plant undead hound.
Awesome.
And it's so cool.
I need plant undead stuff.
Absolutely.
I really do need that kind of stuff. So I know we talked a little bit about it before, but so you've been playing for tabletops for 20 years now. So what was your first experience with your first tabletop game? Was it D&D or was it something else?
I honestly can't tell you for sure what it was. I was like 8 years old, and my dad, who had been playing for a very long time before that, had me and a bunch of friends sit down and be like, hey, we're going to play Dungeons and Dragons. It might have been at the actual D&D. It could have been anything at that point.
Okay.
And you're 8. You don't know what edition you're playing. You don't know what your fancy character stats are. I can't tell you anything about that game, but I remember I was hooked afterwards.
Yeah. I think my first go around with D&D was like right at the start of COVID. So my friends have been playing for, I want to say 6-7 years now. They've been having the same persistent campaign for 3 years, and it's a Gestalt campaign. So getting thrown into that, I had to learn very quickly what I do. But I mean, I wish I don't wish I was around for the Satanic Panic stuff, but I feel like that because like pre D&D, like second edition, first edition to now, hugely different. Like I might get 40 books from first edition to second edition, and I think third. Someone here in my local town like bought a storage unit, has 40 books of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons and like some one shots. And I seen it on OfferUp, and I was like, yes, I need these. I need source material. And I looked a few of them up, and I was like, oh shit, okay, I can understand the Satanic Panic a little bit. And even now, because the deck of many things, you know, they're essentially tarot cards. So in one of the videos that I had made, one of my friends is a big church person. She's a big church goer, and she literally commented on my video. I'm pretty sure I can go back and find it, but she was like, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, it's just something from my game. Don't worry about it." And even my mom, like everybody in my family's big church goers. I'm like the odd sheet out that never went, never really wanted to go, and always played Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon, and they thought it was like everything was from the devil for some reason. And listening to Slipknot and System of a Down, everyone thought something was wrong with me, but I'm fine. So when
I know that life.
Yeah, so I wish I was around back then when that stuff happened, because Dungeons and Dragons looked so much fun back then. Ah, man. So you've been DMing for 2 years now, you said, right?
Something there. Like I'm not 100% sure what the day was I started, but my favorite little tidbit is that I probably wouldn't have had the cojones to do it if I hadn't had Hello Operator behind me showing me what to do.
Hey, man, he is an amazing teacher. He's like a book of knowledge.
And he's just ridiculously charismatic. That man definitively tops out his own ability score and charisma.
Oh, yeah.
And just the way he taught was super bite-sized and consumable. Like one of the most important things I think he ever gave me was, he calls it the quantum troll. You can go left, you can go right. There's going to be a troll no matter where the party goes.
Right.
You don't have to prep two different things. Just make sure you know what your troll's stat block is.
Right. I think I found that out like really early on, is you can plan your ass off. You can have plan A to D, A to Z. They're still going to go somewhere that they're not supposed to go, and you have to be kind of prepared for that instead of just kind of blinking out and just throwing stuff out there and hoping that it works. My first go-around with D&D, even before I started playing with my friends, my in-person friends, I had started watching Critical Role. My friends told me, you know, it's about time to get started in D&D, man. Like, you're the only friend who doesn't play, and COVID's going on. I had just lost my job due to COVID, just like when pandemic barely hit and everything closed down. So I was like, you know what? I have the time. I'll just start watching from campaign 1, and I think like 2 or 3 episodes in, I was just like super hooked. I was like, shit, that's the voice of McCree. That's Ellie from Last of Us. That's Thor from fucking Marvel. And just the way that they were really into the role plays what really drew me in. Not so much of the gameplay or the mechanics of the game that drew me in. It was more of the role play. Growing up, I always did a bunch of voices for no reason. I would always just mess around, or me and my friends always do that. You give each other shit, and we'll make funny voices that sometimes, and that's just something that we always did. So I can see why they wanted me to play D&D so much, just because the abundance of voices I can do.
And it's really funny that your story is super similar to mine. I've been playing D&D forever in my own terms, but I'd never seen any D&D podcasts. I didn't have the time. I'm active duty in the military, so if I've got 2 or 3 hours, I'm usually at home relaxing. And I went on deployment. I was in the Middle East, and COVID hit, and everything came to a dead stop.
Right.
So I was just sitting in a room. I couldn't go out, and it was like, all right, I'm out of anything else to watch on YouTube. And then Critical Role Campaign 2, Episode 1 just popped. It's like, all right, it's a way to kill some time.
Yep.
Oh, and very similar to you, were like, oh, that's McCree. I'm watching. It's like, oh, that's Colonel Mustang from FMA.
Yep.
That's Lust. And then I went down the rabbit hole of all of these other amazing things. Like, I didn't know Liam O'Brien is the voice of War from the, oh no, I'm forgetting the video game name. It's about the 4 horsemen. Darksiders.
Darksiders.
That's one of my favorite games, and Liam O'Brien's the voice of War.
I didn't know
that was so cool to find out.
Damn, I didn't know that. That's pretty dope. I mean, if you look at their resumes, it's long. Like, the amount of games that they've been in. Like, I didn't know that Laura Bailey voices Chun-Li in the Power Rangers expansion that just came out like 2 days ago. I seen the trailer because I watch Maximilian, dude. He's big Street Fighter, any fighting game content creator, and he reacts to like the trailers. And it popped up. It's like a little 2-3 minute video, and I was like, oh yeah, whatever. I'll just watch it. I have nothing else to watch on YouTube right now. And then he was watching it, and usually streams on Twitch, and I missed that stream. But somebody in the chat was like, oh, that's Laura Bailey. And he's like, that's fucking Laura Bailey? I'm like, oh, shit, dude. Like, and then I listened closer. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can hear little, like, notions that that's her. But...
Well, and Taliesin Jaffe's the Flash in the Injustice fighting game.
Yeah. That's fucking insane, dude. And I'm a huge fanboy of Flash. Like, I have a ton of Flash pops over there. But, so... Since you just started DMing, so how was your first experience being a DM? Like, did you run a module, or was it just straight homebrew?
So I ran the Wild Sheep Chase. I'm pretty sure it's a Wizards of the Coast backed one shot. And I think I had a very unique experience. So I had Hello Operator and everybody else at my table, minus one other person, who were brand new.
Okay.
And they're all military members, so I got some interesting personalities. I had Hello Operator played a blood hunter lizard folk everybody's level 3, and he chose a weregator to be his lycanthrope form as a blood hunter.
Nice.
There was a rabbit folk monk, and he picked a homebrew monk class that had this like AoE lightning thing going on. A dragonborn rogue. Minotaur Barbarian, and I'm missing. Oh, we had a druid, and this guy, he was the epitome of murder hobo. I start this session, and the players are walking down a street. We're all under the assumption the party had already been together. And he goes, I want to find a brothel. So to heck with it, you find a brothel. And they walk in, and he starts interrogating this woman. I want this, I want that. And he was trying very hard to derail this campaign from the get-go.
Yeah, it happens.
No spoilers, this is how the adventure starts. A sheep is supposed to break into the party and get their attention.
All right.
This sheep kicks in the door of this brothel, and he immediately turns around, I'm going to kill the sheep. He then convinces 3 other of the party members to kill the sheep, and thankfully they all rolled terribly.
Oh,
and Hello Operator was able to like sequester everybody enough so that I could start the actual campaign.
Oh my god. I feel like that happens. It happens a lot. Like if you're a brand new DM and you're playing with seasoned players or players that are going to give you shit whether they're new or old, I feel like it's going to tend to happen. That happened with my first go around with my in-person friends, and we were running the Essentials Kit starting campaign. It's
Okay.
Dragon of Icespire Peak. And so we started off like any other adventure, they meet in a tavern, so on and so forth. And they legit spent 3 hours starting a fight club. So we sat there and made rules for the fight club, like the bet ratio by race, the payouts, and for like 3 hours. And they were testing me, but they didn't know that I am fucking amazing at improvisation. Like, I can improv my ass off. So whatever they threw at me, I was completely ready for it. It was like, oh, we want to start a fight club. Can we move the chairs around and form a circle? I was like, sure. Do you want to rip up the boards too? They're like, yeah. I was like, cool. The tavern keep's going to help you pull up the boards, and he's going to hand you sheets of paper, and you're going to write down the rules to this fight club. So they all were like brainstorming ideas for fight clubs. And I'm over here on D&D Reddit looking up Fight Club rules and looking up, and it was such a waste of time. But now that every bar that they go to, they always ask if they're in the same Fight Club syndicate, because I made a syndicate that that is around the world, that they have fight clubs, and there's a Fight Club champion at each of these taverns.
But that just sounds like an amazing thing to have in every world from now on. You've already got your entangling features built in.
Yeah, exactly. So good. They didn't expect that. Like, I think a good experience was like, as soon as I started playing, I couldn't find a group for the life of me. COVID hit, so there was like, my LGS wasn't open. The nearest LGS that was open was like 200 miles away. For some reason, the town that I live in, California, it's not small. It's like kind of medium sized, but there's only one LGS here, and they're mainly Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh. Like D&D and Warhammer is like kind of like pushed to the side. So I couldn't really find a group, so I jumped on Facebook. I joined a group finding group that has like 30,000 people in it, but every single post was like players looking for a DM, players looking for a DM, and I had bought the Stranger Things starter set. I didn't buy I didn't buy the original starter set. So my thought process is, I'll buy the Stranger Things one because me and my wife love Stranger Things, so maybe she'd want to play. She didn't want to play.
Oh no.
I was like, oh, okay. Well, so I kept finding all of these posts of players looking for a DM, players looking for a DM. And I was like, shit, am I really going to like DM for the first time playing Dungeons and Dragons? I was like, fuck it, why not? I mean, I'm gonna do it eventually. So I ran that starter set. It was like the easiest one. Looking back at it now, super easy to run. It's completely sandboxy. It is 100% railroad. There's literally nowhere else to go. Like if they want to go adventure over here, you can't go anywhere. So that's
a brilliant setup. I love it.
We can't really go anywhere. Like it's railroad. Like the only thing I don't like about this adventure is if you're playing it with seasoned players, you're going to jam this down their throat, like whether they like it or not, because it's super straightforward and gets to the point, very easy. And like it's the way that it's set up is you literally just reading it from the book to the player. Like it tells you like DM says this, describe this. And then it gives you the stat box for the monsters. It gives you a layout. So if you have a whiteboard or graph paper, you can easily trace out the map. And midway, well, spoilers ahead if you haven't played. Look away. Mute yourself. Like midway through, they go through a portal that takes them to the Upside Down. So it's literally... You're literally just describing the same environment, just colder, more eerie, very dark. So it's just like you already know how to describe it, so you're just like, oh, well, this looks like this looks like that, but a little bit different. And of course, they fight a Demigorgon, and it just kind of snowballs, and the ending is like, it's just like every generic ending. You go back to the kingdom, you have the Demigorgon's head, or I think it's a Thessal Hydra. I think that's what you fight at the end, the big bad. You have its head, and they give you money. The end.
If you really want to mess with some seasoned people for your like intro campaign, do a wild sheep chase, because the end of the module, it gets into it. It's like, hey, oh no, you totally got lied to. Everything's a letdown.
Oh, that's so good.
And I had one of my players. He just was at no. I need something. Give me a reward. I did all of this effort. I did this. I did that. I kind of died. I need compensation.
Oh man. So are you running a campaign right now, or are you just
I am.
Okay, so is it mainly homebrew, or are you running another module?
This is entirely homebrew.
Nice. Okay, so what's your process when you're planning your homebrew or writing it? Like, do you have kind of like a setup or a step-by-step thing that you do?
So what I did for this one, I started with a one-shot because I had an entire group of new players.
Okay.
One person played with me once or twice before we got back from deployment. My wife has played once or twice before that, and everybody else was brand new. And I kind of went, okay, step back. I follow a guy on Patreon, and he does, every week he puts out a different one-shot.
Oh, that's dope.
And I found his level 1 to level 3 one-shot. It's called the Emperor of Bones.
Oh,
nice. It's as generic as it can be in terms of setup and running it.
Okay.
But I'm all about that cool, creepy, undead overall plotline. And I'd been wanting to run this Lich idea I'd been brewing up forever. So I was like, cool, this ties in perfectly. Start here and then branch out with my own stuff from there. And
right.
Just pulling up my notes, like the very first thing that kind of started with was, I love Full Metal Alchemist, and the way they make the Philosopher's Stones is the crux of my entire campaign. That's what they're trying to stop.
Oh, nice. That's super interesting.
And then my build process is big conflict, person creating the big conflict, and creating kind of why they are the way they are. I love a bad guy for the sake of having a bad guy.
Right.
But my favorite villains are the ones where once you find out why they're the bad guys, you sympathize. You have to decide, wait, are they right? And so they kind of started from there. And then I build the bad guys' allies so that I know kind of, mini bosses and stuff like that.
Right.
And then, build your town, build a county, build an empire, stuff like that.
Yeah. So my process is pretty weird. So my homebrewed campaign that I'm currently running, it was a one-shot. So I had one seasoned player who is active in the army as well, and he has a roommate who wanted to play D&D. And I found them in the same group. They were looking for a DM. And they reached out to me because they know that I always post every now and then. If I have like a free week, I'm like, hey, if any new players need a DM, let me know. I have a few one-shots I can run. So he reached out to me and said, hey, I'm a pretty knowledgeable player, but I have a group of friends who want to play, and they have a few friends that want to play as well. I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. I can run a one-shot. So I made this traveling carnival that only appears every 10 years. Ooh. And it's right outside of the town of Neverwinter. So this big populated city, and this carnival just happened to appear there. So what I did is I had everyone send me their backstories before. So that way I can see which are kind of generic, dead parents trying to find out who killed them, generic stuff like that. And the only thing I told them not to do is do not name anything. I'm going to name them for you because being a new player, you're most likely not going to want to role play. But if I can pull at your heartstrings a little bit and name them and then have you find them eventually, you'll start to get more invested from your backstory and your character.
That's awesome.
I started grabbing everyone's backstories, seeing which ones are really open-ended and I can interpret really well, and I started intertwining them with everyone else's backstory or a different person's backstory, so it can kind of be like, wait, you know that person too? Oh shit, you know where they are? So it creates good RP moments. Now,
yeah, it sounds like it. I love that.
And this is coming from somebody who's at the time only played for like a month. this is just my thought process. Like, oh, okay, maybe this would be cool. And they had went to the carnival, and they introduced themselves in the weirdest way. Like, my rogue was jumping across the trees and rolled terrible on an acrobatics check, stumbled and fell at the feet of one of the players. And so they started talking, and they tried to steal some gold from them. Then they had a terrible sleight of hand check, so they found out. They started a commotion, so one of the other players started coming in and trying to figure out what was going on. And it was just kind of like snowballing, that they just started coming in, seeing what the commotion was, because now they drew a big crowd. And off in the distance, they got the first glimpse of the big bad of the one shot, which was this man named Soren. He's some diabolical wizard. He's a fallen god. And they see this shadowy figure in the far distance, and he holds his hand out, and tons of flyers just start shooting out of his hand. And all the townsfolk are picking them up, and it's just like a detailed list of what's going to happen at the carnival. Like this show at this time, this person's going to be playing at this time. The bar and food are ready at this time. But when my players picked them up, it was a specific time and a specific place to go to. So they started picking them up, and as soon as I told the other player, like, okay, you see the same thing. It's a specific time, specific place. They're like, it's kind of weird. So they grab a different piece of paper from a townspeople, and as soon as they grab the paper, it changes immediately to where they need to be at that time and place. So they specifically have been picked for something. So if time winds down, it's about time to get going where they need to go. And they start seeing each other again. So they're like, well, why are you here? And then RP starts to happen. It gets the ball rolling a little bit. And they meet this small man named Quincy. And Quincy just lets them know that they've been chosen for something specific, but they need to complete this trial to see if they're worthy. And once they all accepted, this giant house of mirrors maze pops up from the ground. And so they have to navigate their way out. And I put a timer. Every 5 minutes, something is going to happen. And that's all that I told them. So they're scrambling, trying to find their way out while I have this timer on the screen. Like, okay, you guys got 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute. And they're all panicking, trying to get out. And after 1 minute, I told everyone roll me an intelligence saving throw. And everybody's like, why? And I'm over here just rolling dice, rolling a d20, rolling another d20. I'm like, looking at my table. I'm like, okay, that does that. So I need 3d6. And they're like, 3? And I'm like, yeah, don't worry about it. And then I just I just keep rolling dice. And does it mean anything? No. I'm just scaring them. Does it mean anything? Evil. No. Because the whole point when I play with new players is I'm trying to draw emotion. So that way they start getting invested in the story. Whether it's a one-shot or a campaign. If you can make them feel something as their character, you're doing your job as a DM. You're setting the scene, you're creating good RP moments, you're making them invested in their character. So that way when it's over, they're going to be like, damn, I can't wait for next week. I don't know what he's got planned. Or I'm going to text him to see if he can tell me this. Or I'm going to text him, I have this idea. Let me see if he's okay with this. So the whole entire time, my thought process is I just want to get them to come back next week. Because I feel like if you're playing with new players, that first session is the most crucial session. Like, if they didn't have characters, I have 40 characters on my D&D Beyond. From level 1 to level 20, what do you want to be? I'm sure I have it. If not, I can make it for you so you don't have that headache of making a character sheet, and we can just talk about what your character can do. Or if you want to make your character, Use D&D Beyond. Does everything for you. But
so I had to bribe 3 people to play at my game that I have going on now.
okay.
And another buddy who he was on deployment with me, and he was bored out of his mind, and I kept trying to say, just come play one game, just come play one game. And I was actually able to draw him in by asking, all right, so let's just say for a second, you do want to play. Do you want to hit stuff up close, hit stuff from far away, or hit stuff from far away with magic?
Right.
And they went, oh, can I hit stuff up close with magic? Yeah. Kill a Hexblade Warlock. Well, okay, I want to mess with people and just, I don't actually want to fight anything. I just want to mess with their heads. Archfey, Hexblade, okay. Or Archfey, Pact to the Blade.
Right.
And I just want to be an anime character. High Elf. Okay. All right, we got your character like halfway done. And now you have to play it. Come on. And he loved it.
I bet, man. I mean, going back to like the one shot I was telling you about. So after that wrapped up, I always leave it open ended. So I'm like, okay, well, we can end it here, but if you guys want to keep going, we can keep going. They're like, oh fuck yeah, we want to keep going. Like, well, who the fuck is he? Why did he make us do all this shit? And that Quincy character is from the campaign that I play with my friends. It's one of their dads.
Okay.
But they don't know that it's their dad. 2 of my players are orphaned brothers. They became really close, and they're like brothers. And Quincy was like the caretaker of the orphanage. So orphanage got ransacked. They're trying to figure out where Quincy is, and they now know. So it's not any spoilers. So if you're watching this, I know you're here. I'm not gonna tell you anything you don't know, because I know my players are watching and they always tune in when I stream. But they found out that their dad is this time traveling tavern keeper, so he can travel between he can plane shift to different planes at any time, and yeah. So after they found that out, they wanted to see if they can get items from the black market. So I was like, yeah, there's always a black market around. I'll whip up a name real quick, and I just threw it out there. And they went to go track down the merchant that has all the black market stuff. So they tracked him down. They kept they're smart, they're big brains. So they just kept away from him, followed him to where he was going, and it led them to this graveyard. And they were taking the items inside, and when they got inside, they seen them throwing these items through a portal. They're just shoving them in there. And like, have we seen this portal before? Make an Arcana check or a history check. Rolled shit. Nope. Don't know anything. So they kill the merchants. Like, anything left on the cart? Nope. You guys took too long planning. Like, okay, I'm gonna go through the portal. And I'm like, okay, you guys go through the portal. And I put them into the same world that I had that one-shot campaign in. So we did a crossover episode. I ran a 15-man campaign for like a 3.5 hour session, and never again.
I'm sure.
Never again, because it was on Discord, and it was just like teaching a class. Everybody was just going, and I'm trying to hear one person, and another person's talking, another person wants to do this person wants to make a stealth check, and I'm just like. And then at the end, everyone's like, oh, man, it was so much fun. It was so cool. And I'm over here dying. I'm like, oh, cool. When are we going to do another one? I will let you know.
In a year when I recover from this one.
Yeah. So what ended up happening is the first one-shot / homebrew campaign that ended up happening, that disbanded. Too many time conflictions. Only 2 people can come out of the 5. So it kind of trickled out. But my in-person campaign, they ran with it. They ended up finding Soren. They ended up finding his soul. So the big bad's backstory, they already know. You guys know what it is already. Don't act surprised. So he is an Oathbreaker fallen god. He was the god of trickery and deceit, and he had an oath to Tempest, and he broke that oath to try to get a sense of it, like a kind of a source of his power, just a little bit of it, to be more powerful to overthrow him. So he ended up getting shunned from all the planes, so he can't enter a plane. He can't enter a plane willingly anymore.
Ooh.
So the original group that met him, he deceived them to give them whatever they wanted, these amazing powers, riches, whatever they wanted. They wanted their dead sister back from the grave. He can promise you her body, or he can promise you back, bring her back to life. Like, the amount of shit that they requested, I was like, yes, he can. So they ended up opening this like backdoor portal that got him through.
Ooh.
And it was good until the point that my players met the big bad of the Rime of the Frost Maiden. What's her name? Rel? I think that's one of her form's names. But she took the form of a little girl. And they found her in this shop all alone. The shop was completely empty, but they walked in, the door slammed shut, the shop lit up, and there was just a ton of magical items everywhere. And she would not talk to them at all unless they pulled from this deck. And they did. They all did. They happily did. They're like, oh, fuck yeah, deck of many things, 100% I'm pulling from it. Yeah, I gave my level 4 party the deck of many things just to entice them because I know they were going to pull from it. And I was like, I want to see who I can kill right now. And because I'm evil like that. So they all pulled great. They all pulled really good, except for one. The monk pulled the Talon, so every magic item he had disintegrated. So it wasn't that bad because he didn't really have anything magical on him. But one of my players pulled what was it? It was the key. They pulled the key. So it gives them a rare or rarer magic item which they're proficient in, but the DM decides the weapon. So I gave him the Sword of the Souls. So for every monster they kill, if they deal the killing blow, it takes their soul and puts it in the sword and gives it a +1 up to their level. So if you're a level 4, you can kill the dealing blow 4 times, you'll get a +4, and it resets at a long rest. So, him being a Hexblade Warlock, he wanted to make it his pact weapon. And I was like, oh boy. I was like, do you really want to make this your pact weapon? He was like, yeah, I'm going to start drawing my pentagram. I'm going to start lighting some candles. And he went on this like ramble that he's like, yeah, I'm going to do a ritual and everything. I was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. Go ahead, go for it. I was like, okay, make me an Arcana check. He fucking rolled a nat 20. I'm like, okay, great. Okay. I was like, your eyes roll back in your head. And he's like, okay. I was like, are you gonna keep going? He was like, yes. I was like, okay, make me another Arcana check. And he, I think he rolled like a 17, but his Arcana is high as shit. So I think it made it a dirty 20 or 21. I can't really remember. But I was like, okay, you start floating in the air. I was like, you want to keep going? He's like, yes. I'm like, okay, make me one last Arcana check. And I think he rolled like a 17 or 18. Pushed it over a 20 regardless. So whatever. I was like, okay, your neck snaps and you fall. I was like, you're unconscious. Ooh. And he was like, am I dead? I looked at everyone else and I was like, I don't know. He's like, I cast Cure Wounds. I was like, nothing happens. He's like, healing word. Nothing happens. And like, is he dead? And I was like, his eyes start to glaze back over, and you guys hear this. And then I showed them the big bad's voice. And they're like, what the fuck is going on? He's like, is he possessed? I was like, yes, he's possessed.
Oh, no.
And they know this now, so it's not a surprise. But the big bad from the other campaign, his soul was trapped in this sword. So he was possessed by Sorin, the god of trickery and deceit. So now, like, he goes in and out. He goes in and out. He'll speak for him, or he'll ask him a question. But they're at the point of that campaign where they were able to separate them, and he had to die for that to happen. But then Sorin made him a deal to bring him back to life. So now Sorin's his patron.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've seen one of the viral videos I had on my channel, but it was it was a Twitch clip from our session, and one of my players wished for all the gods to be mortal. And
Oh.
yeah, so this was like a week-long conversation. So he texted me because he pulled the wish card. He pulled Moon, and he rolled a D3, rolled a 3. I was like, okay, you have 3 wishes. You can use them however you want, as long as it's not game-breaking. So we wrapped up the session, and he texted me. He was like, hey, so I want to do something. I was like, okay, shoot. You know me, if I can run with it, I'm going to run with it. He's like, yeah, so I want to wish all the gods dead. No, absolutely not. He's like, well, can I wish them to be mortal? I was like, you're kind of pushing it. I was like, what are you trying to do? He's like, well, I want to make them easy enough to where if I get strong enough, I can go kill one and take their power. And I was like, yes, it's gonna work like that. If you kill one, you get a sense of their power. So if you kill Tempest, you'll get something from Tempest. Or
somebody's been playing way too much God of War.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, you pretty much want to be Kratos. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. So we went like back and forth on the specifics on what could happen, what will happen. And I told him, okay, so I worked it out. You can make this wish, but I'm just letting you know that you are going to collapse everything, because the campaign that I run, it's all homebrewed now. It was Icefire Peak and Icewind Dale, and now it's spiraled into my own crazy concoction. But it's a multiverse campaign. So if you're familiar with DC, there's infinite amount of Earths, infinite amounts of there's infinite amounts of Earths, Underdarks, and there's only one astral plane, and there's only 9 planes of hell, or 9 circles, whatever you want to go by. But there's only one of that. And so I told him, this is going to collapse everything. It's going to merge everything into where you are now. And he was like, yeah, that's fine. I just want to make them mortal. I was like, okay. So as soon as we started the session, he looked at me through Discord, and he just like gave me a nod. And I was just like, yeah, go ahead. And we have 2 clerics, a warlock, a monk that just got that pulled the void card, so his soul got ripped out of his body, so he just gave up on life and made a new character. They were gonna save him, but he was like, no, I already deleted my sheet. He's like, don't even try. We're level 5 right now. He's like, we're level 5 right now. There's no way we're gonna be able to kill whatever is guarding my soul. And I was like, he has a point. You guys aren't strong enough. In time, sure. And,
it's only like a CR13. It's fine.
I was like, yeah, you guys could try. But yeah, he made that wish, and like, if you go back and watch the video, like, everyone's faces were just so quiet. They didn't expect it. They're like, shit, well, what the fuck is happening? And they befriended Dagda, who is the god of defense and defender of the plains, and he was there when they made the wish. So he's sitting there praying to his patron and trying to reverse the wish. And as they're doing so, the protector of the weave shows up and pretty much tells them, like, what the fuck did you just do? And, they went back and forth, and he opened up this time conduit, which, if you guys aren't familiar, time conduit is, I think, 3.5e. It's kind of like a portal to go back in time. So he gave them that one out, pretty much saying, if you guys don't go back and fix it, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
So they spent like 10 minutes trying to figure out how to do it, because he explained to them, traveling back in time, you can't be seen by your past self, and you can't be seen by other people who know you, because it's going to cause ripples in time. And so knowing that, the person who made the wish, he wrote something down on a piece of paper. He was like, my past self will trust you because you know this information. No one else knows this. And so he showed him it, and the protector of the weave was like, again, don't be seen by anyone. So be careful. He went through the time conduit, and as soon as he gets out, he's like, whoa, stop what you're doing. I'm sitting here like, you motherfucker, I knew you were going to do it. So the whole entire time, they convinced him to not make the wish, and he went back through the time conduit, and he's like, okay, I fixed everything. And they talked to the Protector Weave a little bit to get a little bit of information on what's going to happen next. And he lets them know that they freed that they freed this ancient being. And they didn't know what that ancient being is. There's only a few ancient beings in this world, though. So, like, the options are pretty limited. And
yeah, and I'm sure none of them are nice and friendly.
Yeah, none of them had any idea what they just did. So what had happened is, there we go. So what had happened was, they freed Cthulhu. Hold on, I think it's me. There we go. Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me? Because
Yeah.
I can't hear you.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Yeah, it's because my headset died.
Okay, good. I was worried it was my ass.
No, mine died. I didn't have the wire hooked up last night, I guess. But yeah, so he let them know they freed this ancient being, and they need to find the goddess of time, the god of trickery and deceit. They need to find the curator, who is the god of wealth. We'll get a little bit into the curator a little bit later when we talk about our favorite homebrew item. And he pretty much told them, you're going to need these people to help you trap the ancient being, because there's no way you're going to be able to kill him, because the gods themselves couldn't do it. They trapped him. So they didn't know who they were talking about. They all took a long rest, and when the warlock fell asleep, I had everyone... So when everyone falls asleep, I have everyone roll a straight intelligence check. Whoever rolls the highest gets a dream, or a nightmare in some instances. And
okay.
he got a nightmare. So I roll on a table, and that's kind of I call it the dream table. I'm sure it's a mechanic somewhere. I feel like I've heard it somewhere. That's probably where I took it from, but I just call it a dream table. So it's like good dream, bad dream, okay dream, information, good information, terrible information, and big bad visits you. So I rolled, and the Cthulhu spoke to him and told him what was going to happen. And so he woke up.
Uh-oh.
He woke up, and we have like an art and images channel, so I put up an art image of the emblem that Cthulhu was wearing around his neck, and it's like basically like the squid head or Cthulhu head.
Okay.
So I sent him that, and they were like, "Oh my god, what did you do?" Like, you just freed fucking Cthulhu.
That's awesome.
So that's where they're at now. They're traveling to Waterdeep to get information from Xanathar about Cthulhu, because Xanathar is like the book of knowledge. He knows everything.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Ah, man, I rambled too long about this homebrew shit, but
it's great. I love it.
And all of this, I don't prep at all. I don't prep.
Okay.
At all. So the way that I run my campaigns is it's completely driven by the players. So story-wise, I know where they're going to start. I know where there need to be somewhere in the middle, and I know where to end the session. However they want to get there is however they want to get there. If they want to go straight to the town they need to go, if they want to go 3 towns over to go to a brothel or go play some poker, they can go do that too, but they're eventually going to get to the middle point, and they're eventually going to get to the end. So
makes sense.
The reason that I do that now and I don't prep is because I spent so long prepping Dragon of Ice Pirate Peak, and for it to go shit, just like, it really left a bad taste in my mouth, to where I'm like, I'm not going to put this much effort in if it's just going to be completely wrong almost every time, or it's not going to go where it needs to go or where I want it to go. So
that's fair.
It kind of just like rubbed me the wrong way. So I was like, I'm just going to improvise the entire time because that's what I'm good at. And then I'll just write down like basic key points, because I'm really good at remembering my sessions for some reason, but I can't remember people's birthdays or my own anniversary. But
so I learned from my prep, if you want to call it prep, I was saying you kind of have that grandiose worldview. Like, here is the conflict, here is the bad guy, stuff that's not going to change. And then like on my TikTok, I've got all of the terrible side quests. Yeah. I have a list of all of these side quests. And generally speaking, for me, those are, hey, party member couldn't make it, somebody had to call out, something happened. So you can't really do the main quest.
Okay.
And then there's NPC quests that I put out there, and those are kind of fill that video game, hey, do you want to get the extra good loot so that you're not underpowered next time kind of thing. So I pepper in side quests and NPC quests and the kind of, what's it called? Character building moments. So somebody's backstory kind of gets hooked in this area. And then just I have a setup. I've got, 4 or 5 towns, a few things that, you hear about this here, this here, this here. That way I only give them so many directions to go.
Right.
And then there's always the chance, hey, I just want to walk into the woods and find the Feywild.
Yeah. That happens a lot.
Okay. But I try to limit how far they can go outside of my own scope, just to limit the prep I have to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point. A lot of the time when my players can't make it, majority of the time it's our nature cleric, and he grew up in the woods. So it's super easy to be like, oh yeah, he just completely ignored what you were saying and just started walking into the woods. And he'll just randomly just walk out of the woods and he's just like, hey. So it's like it's so perfect.
That's super similar to one I had to do recently. So one of my players, 2 hours before the game, he sends me a text, hey man, I had some family stuff come up, I'm so sorry. It's family stuff. I'm never going to be upset you can't make it because of it.
Right.
And I'm sitting there, I was like, okay, how do I get rid of this character? They're literally walking out of a crypt together. And well, he's playing the super stereotypical angry, ragey, don't touch me barbarian.
Okay.
And so they walk out of a crypt and an arrow flies out of the woods, hits him in the chest, and he decides, no, I'm not taking this offense, and runs into the woods towards whatever shot him.
Yep.
And for the rest of the session, I just had my players make random perception checks, and I got to hear him terrorizing whoever shot at him from just outside the area they were willing to go to.
So the kind of the same thing happens a lot in my campaign. When a new player comes in, we made a joke that they always come in through the bushes or through the forest, because the first time our nature cleric came back into the campaign, when they were back from missing a session, I told them, you guys hear something coming out of the bushes to your right. He's like, Eldritch Blast. And it ended up being the nature cleric. So we have this reoccurring joke: if somebody misses a session, they're gonna get Eldritch Blast. Because I almost always bring them in the same way. Like, you hear something coming from the bushes, Eldritch Blast, and he's like, God damn it. Every time, it's just like a reoccurring joke. I love it so much, man. So, speaking a little bit about homebrews, is there a specific item that's one of your favorite items that you made?
I'll give you 2. One's my serious one and one's the joke one.
Okay.
So the joke one I actually made a video on the other day. It's the Ring of Geese.
Oh.
And it can only be given by an archfey. And the way it works is usually they don't give it when you're fully aware of what's going on. You're drunk, you've been knocked out, something happened, and you probably did something to deserve it.
Right.
And the ring is cursed. It cannot be removed, but if you attempt to remove it, you are attacked by Spectral Goose. It will do 1 damage, and you cannot be prevented, cannot be stopped, and it cannot be killed. But it materializes, bites you, and vanishes. If you wear the ring for more than 7 days, and you're a caster, all of your spells become cast Spectral Goose. They will attack the thing you're trying to attack, but it'll still only do 1 damage.
That's hilarious.
The only way to get it removed is either apologize to whatever deity you pissed off, or you have to find somebody with a high enough greater restoration or curse spell.
That is awesome.
It's one of the many things I've come up with as a DM to punish, the murder hobo style, or I'm just going to be aggressive and angry towards everybody in my RP because that's what my character would do.
Yeah.
And it's one of my, here's some consequences for your actions, bud.
Yep.
And then my serious one is my Hexblade Warlock's Scythe. So he wanted, same guy who wanted to be an anime character. He wanted it to be able to materialize and dematerialize in his hands as he wanted, and he wanted it to feed off of the blood of his enemies, and that's how he fulfilled his part of his pact bargain, was he fed this scythe. And there are no scythes in regular 5e, so I base it off of a halberd, made it versatile. Excuse me. And then a couple days later, he hits me up. Hey, I want to change the description. Okay, that can't change too much. So I want the handle to be a giant candy cane without the loop at the end. And at the very top, I want an evil vampire gummy bear with the scythe coming out of the gummy bear. And the gummy
That's
bear
awesome.
is how my patron speaks to me.
That is awesome.
And so I have it set up. It's, I think, Guide to Wildmount, Matthew Mercer calls them legacy weapons, I think, where as you level up, the weapon changes and gets stronger. So I built it kind of with that same aspect. Every 4 to 5 levels, it gets something new. So right now it's a +1 scythe, and if he deals a critical hit, he gets half the HP rounded down back.
Okay.
And then at his next level, it'll be a +2, and it'll be you get crit at a 19 or 20. And the next one is he can actually make a 10-foot ranged attack. And it slowly gets really strong, but not so strong that he's out of balance with the rest of the party.
Got you. That's a pretty interesting one. I had made if you watched have you watched the anime Jujutsu Kaisen?
I have not.
Okay. So I made a video on this, I want to say like 2 weeks ago. So I made, there's a character in the anime called Todo, and his power is he can swap places with either his enemy or with his friend by clapping his hands.
Ooh.
So in anime fashion, like, he's all like blowing kisses and making like anime faces and clapping. And they're just wailing on the enemy, and then he'll clap when the enemy's about to swing on him. He'll clap, and his other friend is already ducking and giving it an uppercut, and it's just
that's so super cool.
So I was like, wouldn't that be cool if that was in D&D? So I had made it a feat. So how it works is you can swap places with one willing creature up to 30 feet, but you're going to be using interdimensional travel. In doing so, you're going to take damage. So when he uses it, he takes 2d6 damage. So it's kind of like a give and take. Like if you're
balances it out.
Counterbalances it. Like if you're going to use this, you're going to get hurt. So up to 30 feet, take 2d6. And if you want to swap with an unwilling creature, they need to succeed on an intelligence saving throw. So if they succeed, nothing happens. If they fail, you swap and you take the damage. And at level 10, the range jumps up to 40 feet, and the damage jumps up to 2d10.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's a lot of give and take, and he already used it so fucking smart. I completely forgot I gave this to him, right? Because we're all big anime buffs, and if I see something in an anime that I can try to make something for it, I usually try to. Like, I've made the Predator skill and reincarnated as a slime. So like if you kill something and you deal the killing blow, you're able to extract aspects of that monster and take one of its skills. So if it's resistance to poison, you're resistant to poison now. Or you're immune to fire. There's certain aspects that you can take from it. They haven't found it yet. But I'm sure they will. And I've also... somebody posted a video about making the Leviathan axe from God of War into a weapon. And I seen it, and I was like, that's so fucking cool, but it's too strong. Like, how can I make it just like a tad bit more balanced? And I ended up dumbing down the damage a little bit and kind of decreasing the range, but it's still overpowered. And there's this other item. It's not really an item. It's kind of like something really stupid that happened. So one of my rogues were trying to get a surprise round out of someone who can't be surprised. So he heard him coming.
I see the difficulty.
Yeah, he seen him coming, and he turned around quick enough to hit him in his face and knock him down to the ground. And they were in this beachy area, like next to some water, and that's where the fight ensued. So when he got knocked down, he He's like, can I grab a handful of sand and just like throw it at his eyes? I was like, you want to pocket sand him? He was like, yeah, can I pocket sand him? I was like, sure, make me a dex check to see if you can hit his eyes. And he rolled crazy high because he's a fucking rogue. And so now he carries around a pocket of sand that he can use as a reaction. And if it hits, it blinds the creature until they spend an action wiping their eyes. Yes, pocket sand. Fucking amazing. Oh my god.
It's the last thing I want on my table is Dale Grimble.
Yeah, fucking pocket sand. So stupid. Oh man.
If it's stupid and works, it can't be stupid.
Yeah, I mean they push it because I mean they know the type of style. If it's something outrageous but not game breaking, I will make it work. Like the video I posted a few days ago about this, one of my players wanted to be Super Mario, and he brought this hat. Like the actual hat in the video is the actual hat he wore. He wore here. And if you haven't watched the video, here, let me get the hat so you can see what I'm talking about.
Okay. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's he fucking wore this hat here, man, and he tried to tell me, nah, man, I don't want to be Super Mario. That's not who I want to be at all.
No.
Oh, so you don't want to be Super Mario? Okay, so he was like, yeah, so I for sure want to be a Taxaby. I don't know if I want to be a rogue or a monk. And I was like, he's like, and I have a name. I was like, let me guess. The name correlates with the hat, right? And he was like, no. I want to be Super Mario. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I was like, so you want to be Super Mario? He was like, no, Super Mario. I was like, oh, fucking Christ. I was like, let me guess. You want to save a princess, right? And he was like, a queen. And I was like, oh my fucking God.
It never fails to astound me the names that some people have for their characters. I've got shoe, like shoe you wear on your foot, is my rogue.
Nice.
I've got ravioli as my hexblade warlock. My centaur barbarian has two names. We can't decide which ones he likes more. There is his own nickname. He's either Sparky or Stumpy McStabbington.
And the second one.
My wife just actually got on a name generator, and she's Sil Valor, the only normal nice. D&D name at my table. Oh
man, yeah. I don't even know where my players get their names from, but it's usually pretty good names. Like, and my campaign are cleric. I think he's a war domain cleric. His name is Blitz, and what is he now? Because he's not a hexblade. I think he's a hexblood warlock now. I think because we were messing with the Unearthed Arcana stuff, the Gothic lineage stuff that came out. So I was like, yeah, we'll mess with the hexblood stuff, and you'll get some hag powers. We'll make something cool. And so now he's a hexblood warlock, and his name is Valar, who his patron, like kind of like what you were saying with the scythe. So his pact weapon at the time, he would feed the blood to his Patreon through his pact weapon. And now that he has a new Patreon, he's trying to like go find his old Patreon because he wants to sleep with her because vampire stuff, vampire gothic stuff apparently. But anyways, yeah. And then my nature cleric, his name is Jebediah Bush. He's a nature cleric. Of course.
I forgot one. My Warforged fighter, he just joined a few sessions ago. So for clarity, he is a Warforged, but he wanted to be a seal, so we compromised. He's got a regular human body up to the neck, and the person who made him decided he really wanted him to have a seal head.
Nice.
And then he told me that and followed up with, oh, by the way, my name's Sealy Dan.
Sealy Dan. That's amazing. Oh my God, man.
And his magical druid houseplant, Trash.
Nice. I mean,
and I'm not kidding. It's a druid who was cursed by their ancestors. It is a plant who was picked up by a wizard and placed in a magical pot with sentient crabs, think like the Lorax, that let it communicate and cast spells. But it is a plant in a pot that Sealy Dan carries around.
Oh, man. Do you ever find yourself pulling stuff from, like, pop culture or anime or stuff around, like, in the actual real world to put in your homebrewed stuff?
A lot of it is kind of like little gag references. I try to avoid getting too deep into other stuff's plot lines because everybody at my table is a huge anime nerd or a horror nerd. If you can think of a genre, somebody at my table is a little bit too fanatic about it.
Okay.
So if I steal a plot line, they're gonna know what's coming.
Right. That makes sense.
So if I do steal, it's either a fun reference or it's like, ooh, that's really cool. Like, my main plot point is that whole FMA sucking all the souls out of a town.
Yeah.
But I have to be careful how close I stick to that because 3 people at my table, if I let it out now, they'd be like, oh, I already know what he's doing. Let's go break the seals that are clearly being built around the city.
Oh, okay.
Stuff like that.
That makes sense. Yeah. I can understand that. I mean, if they've already watched the whole entirety of Full Metal Alchemist or Brotherhood, whichever one you're pulling from, because they're pretty similar, they would kind of derail it pretty quickly.
Probably my biggest, where I pull from, though, is a lot of, like, the old Gothic horror, like Mary Shelley, Frankenstein, Dracula.
Gotcha.
Gothic horror is just my own personal favorite. All of my campaigns are on that horror theme, like Curse of Strahd and all of the Ravenloft setting is my all-time favorite module and modules across the entirety of the D&D multiverse, stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, I think for me, I pull a lot from DC. Like, I really like the multiverse and the Flashpoint series where, you know, he has to go back what he fucked up. So that's where I got the idea for the time conduit, the portal back in time, because a part of me knew that they were going to fuck it up because that's just my players. They think that I have this grand idea for them to go back in time and fix it. No, I know they're going to fuck up. So they're trying to fix one of the ripples in time, which is trapping back Cthulhu. And then after that, then you have to fix something else.
But I mean, knowing that your players are going to fuck it up is the most important part of knowing what to prep next.
Yeah, that's very true. So what's been like your favorite experience, like your favorite moment since you've been DMing so far?
Let's see. I've got a couple. There was the moment that Hello Operator ripped open a pseudo porta potty and pulled a polymorphed bear using the facilities out with flaming were alligator claws.
Oh my
That was
God.
a great moment. There was, Sealy Dan and his houseplant single-handedly killed an entire raider group because they both just rolled insanely high. A combination of Entangle, long-distance fighting, and Thorn Whip.
Oh,
killed
Jesus.
4 enemies just outright. The rest of my party had no hope.
God.
You know what? It's got to be the very first fight that my entire table of brand new players ever fought was a zombie owlbear, CR3, against a whole group of level 1s.
Oh.
Being a zombie, it has undead fortitude.
Yeah.
So every time it would go to 0, you roll, and if you beat that DC, it comes back to life.
Yeah.
My Barbarian, Hexblade, and Rogue, all 3, were nearly dead because I rolled 1920, 1920, 1920.
Oh, shit.
For this thing's just undead endurance. And then finally, Barbarian, with 1 hit point, pulled a crit, and I had no hope of rolling any higher, and this thing just fell. They had to take a long rest because the party doesn't have a healer.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They had this thing at 1 HP for 6 rounds. They just could not kill it. And just watching the look on everyone's faces, because everybody's up here and excited and ready to go, and they flunk back in their chairs, let that air out, went, guys, we need to take a break because you all look exhausted now. Just everybody was so involved. I didn't expect a table of brand new people to get that into the first fight. That just so much investment. It was awesome.
Man, I have so many moments. But before I tell you mine, what I've made, because I ran a game, uh, for a group of new players that didn't have a healer, and they would always be taking a shit ton of damage and have nothing to do besides take a short rest or a long rest. So I made this thing called a crystal tree potion.
Ooh.
So, I mean, if you roll a high enough history check, you would at the start of the campaign you would kind of have an idea what to do with these crystal trees, because it's a bunch of these trees that are very vibrant. They vary from blue and purple and different shades of crystal. And if you take the leaves and you mix it with the blood of the brewer, so with your own blood, and you would muddle it down, when you drink it, you regain 2d4 plus whatever your medicine bonus is. So it's just like
Okay.
it's like an easy out. It's like a little bit better than it's better than just a regular potion of healing. Not as good as a greater potion of healing, but it's something that if you as a DM kind of see like, okay, shit, they're kind of gonna get beat down, or the next fight that's coming up, they're gonna get their shit pushed in. they
So
can
I go ahead.
they can make perception checks and see if they find any crystal trees around or any leaves on the floor, and you can just kind of set the pace and be like, oh, it takes 2 whole leaves or 3 whole leaves and to make 1 potion, to make 2 potions, and just kind of something simple, so where you don't need to always go to a town to find potions or other forms of healing.
So I gave my players kind of an interesting idea with that. But before they left to go to this crypt, they encountered the city's alchemist. And he's a shifty, neurotic little gnomish man who experimented on himself one too many times.
Ah, okay.
And now his hands aren't very steady, so he's constantly making unstable potions. They're just wild magic potions.
Okay.
And he made a deal with the players. He will give them 2 health potions if they take his 5 unstable potions, and they have to record what the effects are of these unstable potions for him.
Oh, that's interesting. That's a good one.
3 of my players drunk 3 of them right there in the shop.
Oh, damn.
1 is now immune to the effects of alcohol and poison for the next, I think it's 4 weeks, because he rolled stupid high.
That's awesome.
1 lost all of their hair. Just all of it fell out. One of them turned. One of them is now a giant, like, crystalline rainbow structure for the next 2 days.
Oh.
In the middle of the dungeon, one of them took one and was invisible for
Nice.
4 minutes as the rogue who had just made a 27 stealth roll, and it was already invisible. Just, screw it. And then none of them even bothered to use the 2 health potions I gave them in exchange for these crazy wild magic potions.
Oh my god. Oh man, but yeah. So to kind of go back a little bit on the pop culture question. So before we started, I told you like I spent like 6 months like writing this campaign. So what I've been doing is I've been writing a Last of Us inspired campaign. So if you played The Last of Us Last of Us and The Last of Us 2, it takes place in between the first game and the second game. So if you played the first one and you played the second one, you still don't know the story. It's completely different. You won't come across Ellie and Joel. You'll come across other survivors, a bigger camp, kind of like in the second game. But I've literally written everything. I've written the story. I've written the classes, the weapons. I made a crafting system. I made a bartering system because, there's not really money in the world. I've made a scavenging system. So, if you find these items and you have the knowledge to craft this item, you can do that. And there's absolutely no magic at all. So this is like a real world setting. So like if there was an actual apocalypse, like who would you be? Like that's literally my whole basis of it. Like people want to be a barbarian, they want to be a cleric, they want to be a rogue. Well, do you want to be a medic, a sharpshooter, a brawler, a looter? and those are the only classes that there are, and there's only one human race, and that's it. So
That's super cool.
it's a very niche game, and I want to play it eventually. So what I'm probably going to do is do a charity stream pretty soon. And if you want to be a part of it, you're more than welcome. I'm gonna reach out to. I want to do like at least a 5-person session. It could be a one shot that can turn into a campaign. It's very open ended, so it can be a one shot. It can be a campaign, but there's regular undead. There's clickers. There's bloaters. There's the Rat King, and I have stat blocks for all of these. And
They have some of my favorite zombies. They're so cool.
yeah, and I actually have 2 clicker minis already. So the way that I run my games on Discord is voice and video. I don't use Roll20 because I will actually make a whole ass encounter. Like if whoever's watching, like if you guys go back to my TikTok page, I made a post about this portal encounter, and that's kind of like to show you the stuff that I do for my players. So it's like these ruined walls that I've made, and there's trees, and there's like I make a whole ass encounter. So I've ordered like some broken down ruined buildings from Amazon that I gotta paint. I'm gonna make some buildings as well, and I ordered some. I think it's from Citadel or Warhammer, but it's basically like a bunch of undead, a bunch of undead zombies. So I think I've took the pegs out of like 10, and I think I've painted about 10 or 8 of them, but I need 20. I need 20.
I actually finished painting my first mini the other day, and I'm working on my second one now. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So I think my first test run is going to be that charity stream. I'm gonna reach out to a few people. I mean, I can tell you now, you're one of the people I wanted to reach out to see if you wanted to join in. But I have the green light from D&D Beyond, so they're down to sponsor the charity stream and give some stuff out for people who donate.
Sweet.
Hit Point Press is going to be giving out some decks for people who join in and donate as well. Dungeon in a Box, I believe, is going to be donating a few stuff. So I just started working with them. They're sending me a few stuff to review on TikTok.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man, I've been working a lot. I can
tell.
I've been contacting a lot of people, not just for sponsorship or just to like review certain items or just kind of get their stuff out there, because I want to. The whole point of me being on TikTok is I want to build relationships, whether that's with people, companies, people who are just working on their own from their own comfort of their home. Like, if I can show your stuff off, I want to. You don't have to pay me anything. I just want to show your stuff off. And yeah, I mean, that's like one of the biggest things that I kind of preach is like, if you have some type of platform, some type of following, it doesn't hurt just to shoot out some emails and see what bites and what doesn't. The worst thing they can say is no.
Sure, yeah.
And that's what I did with Beyond. I seen that what was his name? Mr. Gilborn. He did a charity stream with a bunch of TikTok creators, and he messaged so many people, and he had so many people donate. And I was like, well, I want to do a charity stream pretty soon. My youngest son has autism, so I want to do a charity stream for autism awareness. And
nice.
I was like, well, I'll just hit up D&D Beyond, see if they'll be interested. And they were. I hit up my sponsor, Hit Point Press. They were 100% in. And now I'm talking with Dungeon in a Box, and they're sending me some stuff to review. So I sent out an email, saying, hey, I'm doing a charity stream pretty soon. If you want to join in, more than welcome to. And I'm trying to get a few more sponsors in to entice more people to want to donate to the stream.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I haven't picked out what charity to work with yet, but my whole thing is the 6 players who come in, it's going to be a one shot. So you can come in playing for a charity of your choice, and whoever is kind of like the last one standing at the end, half of the proceeds of the charity stream will go to the charity of your choice in your name, and the other half will go to the other charity that we partner with for autism. So
that's pretty awesome. I love that.
yeah, so that's kind of what I've been trying to get in the works yet. I haven't messaged anyone yet, but I'm for sure gonna message you because I definitely want you to be one of the players in it. I know I'm definitely gonna message Hello Operator because he has to be a player in it. Because last time I had him on, I'm like, dude, we got to play a game together, 100%. And I either want someone to co-DM maybe because I feel like it's gonna be kind of chaotic. Because
Probably.
this kind of, I don't want to call it a module. This homebrew that I wrote, it's very fight or flight. Like you shouldn't fight unless you have to. Kind of like Call of Cthulhu, where you know what the monsters are, you know that you can take them on, but if you shoot one of them, is it going to draw more? Do you hear clickers around? Is it going to draw them around? Do you really want to fight a clicker when they're almost immune to everything? And there's a chance that the bloater might come out. There's a chance that you'll run into a rat king, and so many chances of everything. It's very fight or flight. So I've been kind of taking my system that I've made and turning it into a one-shot or like a one-shot experience where only one of them is going to be alive. And I have boiled it down to, if there's more people alive, then, we can divide it amongst each other. It's totally fine. If there's more people that survive, that's fine. But my goal is to have one survive. That's my whole goal. But yeah, I mean, I'm for sure going to message a few people about it because it's a whole new system. It's like playing a whole new game. Yeah. But it still has, the only thing that carries over from Dungeons and Dragons is the stat blocks are still the same. The skills are still the same. The only skills that aren't used is Arcana and Religion because they don't apply. And there's some feats that carry over. The classes that I made, they follow the same level up rules. So for a medic, it would follow the level up table as a cleric. So it's just reworded some of the things that you would get to make sense in the world. Yeah. But you would get the ASIs at the same level. You would get to choose a feat if you want to choose a feat. And I have a plethora of homebrew feats. A plethora. Like, to give you an example of one of the feats that I wrote, it's pretty interesting. Let me find it. It's where is it? That's my weapons and crafting items. There we go, feats. Okay, so for the brawler, where's my brawler? Not durable. Last breath. That's what I called it. I called it last breath. So if you're being grappled by an infected or a clicker, you can use your reaction to call upon a friend who is 15 feet away from you to throw a shiv at the infected to release you. Yes, because shivs are a thing. There is no daggers. It's a shiv. If you guys play the game, you guys know what shivs do. It's like an auto release if you're being grappled. To throw a shiv at the infected to release you. The person will make an attack roll with advantage. If it hits, it's an auto release, but you deduct a shiv from your inventory. If you do not have a shiv, you may throw a blade with disadvantage. If someone else is being grappled by an infected, if you are 30 feet away from them, they may call upon you. Same rules apply. So, yeah, it's pretty safe to say if you get hit by anything, you are going to get grappled. Just like the game.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, the stat blocks for everyone, they're balanced, but they're balanced to where if you have to fight them, there's a chance that you will win, but there's a chance that you will die. And if you die, you die. There's no death saves. Yeah.
I love games like that.
Yeah, so it's very Call of Cthulhu-esque, but still in the same Dungeons and Dragons mechanics of combat. Action, bonus action, movement. That same mechanics are still the same stat blocks, still the same skills, just no Arcana Religion, but
not too far away from the norm.
Yeah, and it's heavily RP. It relies on RP because there's a lot of moments to build on and can create good RP moments, but it's very easy to deviate away from that. So like if you notice there's not a lot of people RPing or don't really care about the story, then it's very easy to throw an undead, throw a clicker. Super easy. Super easy. So I have the general idea for the one shot. definitely going to be messaging a few people because I want to get this going pretty soon. But it needs a session 0, like 100%, because it's something brand new, and I don't expect everyone to understand everything because it's a lot of information, a lot. And I've had people ask me like, "Dude, make a Patreon so we can have access to this stuff." And I was like, "You can have it. I'll make a Google Doc. I don't want you to pay me for it." I'm not knocking anybody who has a Patreon. I just don't. I like me barely having. I think I have like 2.9 thousand followers. I'm like at the cusp of 3,000. I don't think that like is big enough to like for Patreon. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Yeah. But like my thought process is like if I have like 10,000 followers and I'm cranking out all this homebrew stuff, then maybe. But it's not like I'm like hurting for money. Like I'm fine. Yeah. Like this is just something I do for fun. And
not looking to make it a side hustle.
Not looking to make it a side hustle. Like with these sponsorships like Hit Point Press and Dungeon in a Box, and I didn't ask for money. I don't want money. I want to show your stuff because it's cool stuff. Dungeon in a Box is cool. You get a one shot every month. Who doesn't want that? You get all these cool.
Hit Point Press has so much of my money. I'm on 2 of their Kickstarters.
Yeah, Hit Point Press, dude. Oh my god, I was so happy when I got affiliated with them and they gave me my own affiliate link. I was like, yes. I've made it. That was my pinnacle. I was like, yes, I've made it. I've made my mark. Because I love Hit Point Press. Their stuff is so cool. And I was planning to buy this deck anyways, the Deck of Many Things. Because like majority of my channel, my niche thing is the Deck of Many Things videos, where you find my domain and that whole thing, my whole shtick. And I was like, I seen these on, I forgot whose channel was it. I know Critical Role, they sponsor Critical Role a lot, but I think it was the Gallant Goblin. He reviews a lot of stuff for D&D. And the beginning of his channel, he was doing his little sponsorship thing, and he popped out these. And they were, like, he was moving them, and I was like, oh, they move. Oh, that's so cool. And then I went Hit Point Press, and they have all these, they have deck of cantrips, deck of spells, deck of many NPCs. And I'm like,
that's where I found them, was the spell cards. And then I was looking them up, and they had a Kickstarter open, and it was for their tarot deck.
Oh, yeah.
And then for the tarot deck, they all, depending on which tier you got, you could get all spells to level 9, the Deck of Many Things, the tarot cards, and then there's like 5 other things that got added in stretch goals. And I've just been waiting and waiting and waiting, and I need it.
Yeah. I mean, like, a lot of this, I think right now on their website, they have from level 1 to level 5 or level 6. And then they have the Deck of Many Cantrips, and I think that's it. And the Deck of Many Things and NPCs, but man, there's a lot of Kickstarters that I wish I would have backed that I can't back anymore. Like the Codex Quests for Brandon the DM. Dude, I'm so mad that I missed it because like there's so much stuff that like I just caught a wind of his channel like a week and a half ago, and it was like literally a day passed by and his Kickstarter was done. And I was like, dude, I really want one. The stuff in there is so cool, man. I'm glad that, TikTok is around giving a platform for, average Joes like us and are able to do something with it. And there's an audience around that wants to watch your stuff. I mean, like
just the amount of knowledge that's out there just for me to absorb has been amazing, and then being able to just give my own little weird niche tidbits.
Yeah, I mean, there's a user Almost Surely who does all the traps. Like majority of his videos are about traps, and I've used so many of his traps. Like his traps are genius. Like they're meant to hurt your players, and I love that. There's one trap that he had put out where it's a statue of a fish. And if your players find it and they pick up the statue, the walls enclose and it starts filling up with water. And pretty much like they have to figure out how to get out. But eventually the room is going to fill up with water. There's no way to get out. But whoever's holding the statue can breathe underwater. They get water breathing. So if everyone's touching the statue or touching the person, they all get water breathing. So what I did for my players is I made it that much more diabolical. I gave them literally 3 minutes to find a way out. I put a timer. This is my favorite thing to do because I like to build suspense, right? So if you throw a timer at them, because you can just tell them like, oh, there's this puzzle, you need to figure it out. And then they can spend 30, 40 minutes trying to figure it out, and they'll eventually get it. But if you throw a timer at them, it's going to build suspense and that sense of urgency, like, oh shit, we need to get out.
I haven't used an actual physical timer yet, but one of the last traps was there's 4 sarcophaguses in a room, and each one has a portal to the elemental plane of water. So every sarcophagus you open, the room fills up with more and more water. And the only way to get rid of the water is to open the doors, which are covering grates.
Oh, okay.
So they open one. Oh, well, maybe opening one of the others lets all the water out. No. So in one round, all 4 sarcophagi are open. And at the end of every round, all I did was say, water's up to your ankles, water's up to your knees, water's up to your waist.
That's good.
And just that back and forth of, oh, it's rising. What do we do? What do we do?
Yeah, like, I have this trap coming up for my players. If you're watching this, look away. I will hurt you. It's this, because they have to go into this palace that is guarding. There's something that in there that's guarding what I call the. Oh, you got kicked out. Give me 1 second, guys. All right. Sorry, small technical difficulties, but we're back. No worries. So, like I was saying, I have this thing that I call the scroll of the multiverse. So if you roll a high enough Arcana check, it will tell you where you are at any point in time in the multiverse. So if you're in a different Earth and you want to know which Earth it is, you can just pull up this map, and it'll tell you where the portals are to get to wherever you need to go. And there's something guarding it. They don't know what it is yet. I'm not going to tell you, but it's something big. Something big. It's going to pose a big threat. And there's going to be a trap in there that there's going to be 6 levers. And in the middle of the room, there's 2 depths. There's a bridge to get to the other side where the scroll is. The scroll's on this little tiny mantle, but it's like a circular mantle, so only one person can fit. And there's this long, narrow bridge that follows it. So in those depths, it's going to be pools of lava that are slowly going to be rising. But it's an illusion. So they're going to be pulling these levers, trying to figure out the combination to stop the flow of lava, which it's not going to do anything because the lava is an illusion. But they don't know that. I just want to create panic. So
I love it.
Yeah, so to get to the other side, they just need to they can cross it whenever they want, but it's going to be covered in this illusionary lava. So of course they're not going to want to cross it. They're going to try to pull these levers to figure out the combination to make the lava go down, but it's not. It's just a big ruse to cause some panic.
That's awesome. I love that one.
Oh man, I haven't figured out a name for it yet, but it's gonna be funny, and of course it's gonna have a timer. Timers are my thing.
Absolutely.
Oh man, so kind of looking back at like your history with tabletop gaming, if you were to give any tips to brand spanking new DM, like what would be like your top tips?
Start with some kind of pre-made module, just so that you can see what a basic build looks like. Just get a feel for it. You know, a professional's designed this and gets paid to do it. It's a good template, at least, to start from.
Yeah.
A really, really big one is you hear a lot of it where somebody says yes and or no and.
Yeah.
And for me, there should really only ever be a no if it's truly going to either ruin the fun, ruin something crucial in your game.
Right.
Yeah, like if somebody wants to go and murder the whole town, that's a no.
Yeah.
But if it's, I'm going to kill the shopkeeper, Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
And then let's see. Read the Dungeon Master's Guide and the Player's Handbook, cover to cover. It's not a fun, enticing read every page, but just having that little reference point when somebody asks, "Hey, I want to sleep in my armor," oh, there is a rule on sleeping in armor, so you have an idea what to look for, where things should be going.
yeah.
And just the direction the rules should go for balance. That was very helpful to me. Was I read the whole book, and when somebody asked a weird, outlandish question, so if I jump out of the tree and miss, what happened? I know. Oh, fall damage is a d6 per 10 feet, and then you can kind of go, well, you jumped out of a tree, fell 20 feet, but you did land on the bad guy with your greatsword. Yeah, damage would probably go up on your greatsword for that hit.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point too. I mean, being a new DM, like don't be afraid to tell your players no. I feel like a lot of new DMs will let a lot of things slide that shouldn't happen. I mean, if someone's trying to kill a very crucial NPC that only has that information, you probably shouldn't let them kill them. I mean, there's a lot of way to dance around it. They can have them hit, and maybe they just have some outlandish AC that they can't hit. I
have a spell for exactly that occasion.
Yeah. Another good tip I can give that I haven't gave is if you're trying to build a story and you know that your players are about to die, don't be afraid to fudge a roll or two.
Yeah.
It's completely fine. I know it's frowned upon a lot by a lot of DMs. They hate fudging rolls. But I'm a strong believer in building a story and building relationships with your players' characters. Not your players, but your players' characters. I mean, they're there to essentially not just play a game, but kind of have an escape from life. You want to have something that's pulling you out of your element, and you want to get entangled in the story, and you want to get your players involved with their character. So if you know that after this fight, if they interrogate this person or they go back to the town and get the reward that they need to get, and they're going to get information, and you know that it's crucial to that character that might die, it's okay to fudge a roll or two. And that goes hand in hand with NPCs and even with the big bad. I've fudged one big bad roll before because it was disintegrate, and if I rolled good enough, all of them were gonna die, and all of them failed their saves, and I was like, if this is not how I want it to TPK, like I'm just gonna roll really low. And I rolled really good. I could have TPK'd them. I rolled really good. But I was like, oh man, these are terrible rolls. Just because I didn't want to kill everyone.
If I'm running a really high fantasy anime protagonist style game, it's kind of what I've got going right now with my current table. Yeah, I've fudged a lot of rolls. In crucial moments, I really try to avoid it for that really good gritty narrative sense. But
yeah,
if it's a side fight and it's really going bad out of nowhere, oh yeah, I'll fudge it up so they get that cool comeback moment. Everybody feels really badass.
Yeah.
But I've played in a campaign. It was Curse of Strahd, and I told everybody we're going hard because if you read Curse of Strahd, it even says in like the start of the module, have some backup characters ready. You will die.
Yeah.
So I ran it that way. Very first session, one of my players took like 11 of his 13 hit points because he just walked into a swarm of centipedes, and they almost erased him right then and there. And I didn't fudge a single roll in that campaign, and several people nearly died in the like 2.5 sessions we got through.
God, man, that's one campaign I really want to be a player in. Is Curse of Strahd. I've never ran it, and I never played in it. Another one is Tomb of Annihilation. I really want to play in it. It's a rough campaign, but I really want to play in it.
Out of every campaign, that is just the grindiest, grittiest campaign. If you're not into that constant threat of like, I'm gonna die, you can't play Tomb of Annihilation. You just can't.
I know I think one of our, well, there's 3 DMs in my core friends that we all play with. So what happens is I'll DM one Sunday, then we'll play their campaign on Sunday, and then we'll play the other person's campaign Sunday. So it gives everyone breathing room.
Nice.
But I think they got Tomb of Annihilation for their birthday, and he was like, "Yeah, I really want to win this." I was like, "Yeah, run it, please, run it." Because there's like a very, I wouldn't say it's a similar one, but if you come across the Rick and Morty little one shot, it's a fat dungeon crawl, and there's opportunities to kill your players because there's stupid ways to kill your players in that dungeon crawl, but we're gonna run that one shot I think in like 2 or 3 weeks because my cousin who plays with us, he lives in Oregon, and he's coming down for my mom's 50th birthday, and he's gonna stay at my place. So we're like, oh yeah, dude, like everyone else, it was like a block away from me. I was like, yeah, we're gonna be playing the whole weekend.
I've heard nothing but good things about the Rick and Morty one shot.
It's so fun. Like even if you run it like not just like straight module, like the shit that it tells you to say is hilarious. Very very Rick and Morty fashioned. Whoever wrote this, it was like a huge Rick and Morty fan, and I love them so much for writing it this way. Oh man, because like there's puzzles in there. You know, there's like 4 statues, and you can inspect all of them. And if they read like if they read 2 of them, like it tells you as a DM to say like, oh, this one says hurry the fuck up and get out of this room, move on. It's so funny. It's like it's just hella outlandish the shit that it tells you to say. It's hilarious. But to piggyback on what you were saying about the DMs and the DM's guide and PHB, 100% read them. I can 100% attest to that because I'd never read any of them, and I just read front to back both of them last week. And the amount of knowledge, I'm like, oh, so I kind of did it right, but I could have done it better. Like fall damage, I always just did a D6. I was like, oh, whatever, you fall, I take a D6. But now it's like, oh, for every 10 feet, I'm like, oh. Or like, oh, you want like another funny one that came up was how many points of exhaustion do they take if they never long rest? That was good information to have because one of my players had to decode this sorcerer's book that had highly valuable information. But the way that I written this book, or the way that I coded this book, is instead of taking a long rest, you can spend that time decoding this book because you can't decode it at any other time because you need your full concentration. So he spent like 2 sessions decoding this book, and he had gained I think almost 3 points of exhaustion. It was great.
Oof. Ooh.
Yeah,
That's bad.
I told my players, like, if you ever play in a campaign with me, at level 5 I show no mercy. You can ask me anything you want. I don't care. If it's super outlandish and I can make it work, I will make it work. At level 5, I will tell you no. And I will give you things that will haunt you.
Nice.
I am very DM versus player. But when it comes to story, I'm very story over everything.
A lot of people hate on the DM versus player mindset. So long as you're not doing it in a vindictive way, it's fine. Yeah. It's a great way to go about it. Then your players really feel that sense of combat.
Yeah, that's the whole reason that I incorporated the timers, because I did one puzzle and they spent like an hour figuring it out, and I'm just like, dude, like we have like a 3-hour cap time. Like everyone's free for 3 hours. It's never enough for a session. You're spending an hour on this puzzle. I'm like, okay, next time I'm just giving you a timer. So then when I hit them with that fish puzzle, I was like, okay, you guys got 5 minutes, go. And they're like, 5 minutes? Oh shit. And they just started scrambling. It was great. And I've been doing it ever since. Timers, man.
Nice.
So we talked a little bit about our homebrew. We talked a little bit about tips for DMs. What would you give a brand new player tips on how, not just how to play the game, but how to engage in RP? Because that's a big component that's always missing with new players.
When it comes to how to play the game, ask.
Questions.
If you want to do anything, I'm probably going to say yes, because I want to see what you do with it. And then if it's dangerous or edgy or weird, I'm still probably going to consider it.
Yeah.
The rule of cool is the only rule that matters at my table.
100%.
When it comes to RPing, I think a lot of people are worried they're gonna seem weird. It's gonna be awkward. I'm the only one trying. No.
Yeah.
As soon as one person starts role playing, the whole table's gonna pick up on it.
Yep.
I had one of the guys who came to my table is that very kind of standard, grew up on the farm, man's man.
Right.
He only came to my table because I bribed him with brisket. And one of my other guys, who's just this big old goofball, his thing is he talks to himself.
Oh.
He'll come out and he'll say, "All right, I'm talking to myself in my head," and he'll give this brief monologue, and then he takes the monologue and completely reverses it and puts on this happy-go-lucky exterior roleplay moment, so everybody knows what he's thinking. Like, think anime protagonist. But then he says something totally different, and he's all about that RP. And this down-home guy was like, "Oh, I can do whatever I want. I can say what I want. It's not like, oh, buy a drink, buy a room, ask for rumors. No, you can ask me, hey, that lady down at the fire pit, is she single? And I'll give you an answer.
Yep.
And I'll let you RP that out."
Yep.
I think one of the big issues is stuff like Skyrim. Yes, it's that big open sandbox, but people still know you got to pick option 1, option 2, option 3.
Yeah, 100%.
And in D&D, you have a million more things you can pick than I can ever consider, and I love to hear what you want to do. Do it. Ask the question in character. Do a silly voice if you want to do a silly voice. I don't care if you can't maintain it. We'll just say that your character's a nervous spazball who doesn't even know how they speak for themselves.
Yeah. I mean, kind of like to piggyback on what you said, like, with RP, it does take someone who is majority of the time consistently going to do it. Like, you know, if you have someone who's kind of goofy, it'll come out eventually, and it's very infectious. I mean, me being a DM, I have an abundance of voices, so it's very easy for them to just be like, I remember you could make that voice. Like, when I do the Big Bad's voice, it caught everyone off guard because they didn't know that I could do a super deep voice. So they were just like, oh, shit, this dude means business. And, I mean, this kind of goes for DMs and players. Like, you don't have to have a voice. I mean,
no.
If you're like very, very green new player and you just finished watching Dimension 20, Critical Role, or all these other shows where they have amazing voice actors in, you don't need voices. You can, there's different ways you can change your voice. Maybe you stutter, maybe you enunciate a little bit better, or maybe you have this like nervous tick, or you tilt your head after you finish talking. There's so many ways you can like have your own little moments to where people can catch upon and be like, oh, you don't normally do that. That's cool.
And that's the majority of what I do for my NPCs, is that kind of fast twitch, really kind of off the wall, kind of setup, or they've got a more regal, down to earth, noble feel going on. And just to give some distinction, you know, if you're in the wealthy district, more people are going to speak very well, and they're going to think about everything they say. Because if you don't think about what you say, someone is going to get something from you. But then you go down to the slums and everyone's just going to sit at you and they're going to talk a lot of slang real quick. They don't care what you think of them. They don't care what you think you know.
Yep. Do you have like a voice for your Big Bad?
2 technically. I'm almost certain nobody at my table is watching your stream because almost none of them do anything nerdy except when they come to my table.
Nice. Hey, well, it'll be up on YouTube later, so you can just give them the link.
So there's the captain of the guard. He sounds like this prepubescent, really nervous. I get my inspiration from Morty a lot, the way he talks. Nobody thinks he's any kind of threat or danger. But he's actually gnome.
Oh,
New Lich.
That's dope.
And he's taken this, and he's deceived the entire town. Most of the guard are thralls under his control, and those that are thralls are charmed and beguiled. And he owns the entire city.
Oh, that's a good way to spring it up on them. That's nice.
And so the way they met, because I didn't want to meet in a tavern kind of thing, just because there's that stigma behind it. So everybody told me what they did to wind up in jail. And the captain of the guard basically builds a suicide squad because there's an owlbear threat and he's tired of losing his men to these owlbear. So he recruits people in the prison to go take care of the threat for him.
There you go. So, my big bad's voice is like my favorite voice to do because it catches everyone's off. It catches everyone off guard because like my voice isn't deep at all, but when I do his voice, it's great. So, I think it's time we move on to the next victim.
I love it.
So it's like so perfect because nobody ever sees that coming. Or or when I do the curator, the god of wealth, he's this big 4-foot fat furry hamster, and he kind of talks like Kermit the Frog, and he has an item for every adventurer in the multiverse.
That's amazing. I love that.
And for our interactive game, hopefully I get my items in the mail today. I ordered some artificer glasses because he's an artificer penguin who everyone decided to call Kowalski.
Nice. So your god of it makes me think of, it's one of my big bad's henchmen. Everybody, his name is Bugsy. He's a bugbear. And everybody just talks like this up there in bugbear country. You know, it's nothing new up there. But nobody expects this big hulking monstrosity with like 15 weapons strapped to his back to come around the corner and go, "Oi, well, you done fucked up now, didn't you?"
Oh man, yeah. Like I kind of showed like a little snippet of Kowalski's voice on one of the videos I did when I stitched Jack's video about DMs who have voices. And I tried to keep it as close to the original voice actor from Madagascar. So the tidbit that I did was when they're doing like his interview for the movie, and he says it's time for Operation Relaxation. So I'm hoping I get the artificer glasses in the mail today so I can make the first interactive video. But like, I just wanted to do something with like my little community of D&D nerds. I'm like, I can't play with all of you, but all of you can influence this character's adventure. So I have like, you know, an A, B, C, and D things that he can do. So I'm gonna start his adventure off. He just washed up to shore. He was sailing with his colony because his penguins, and he has a fish familiar named Dory. That's what everyone named the fish familiar. But Dory's very forgetful, but she remembers the faces of her best friends. Just like Dory from Finding Nemo. So basically his whole adventure is going to be finding his colony and his fish familiar. So he just washed up to the shore, so he's going to be traveling around, and he might encounter his first fight, maybe, as a level 5 penguin artificer. But it's going to be very open-ended, every adventure. So there's going to be a list of things he can do. Like, does he try to fight this thing? Does he follow the trail to the town? Does he wander off in the forest looking for his friends? And my community will vote on whatever they want to do. So they're going to drive the adventure the whole entire way. And what I'm thinking of doing is getting other creators like yourself, Hello Operator, Meg the Sorceress, Glitch Success, to kind of have like a conversation with Kowalski and give him something to do as an NPC. So pretty much like you guys would be the guest DM and Kowalski will be your player, and you would give him some information like, oh, you need to do this to go get this, and if you bring it back to me, I'll give you this. And
love it.
It's going to be so much fun, man. I have so many ideas, but I was like, I need to get these artificer glasses because this is what makes Kowalski. Like, I have the picture of Kowalski already, and he has this like steampunk glasses, and he's holding this large tube, and his fish familiar's on the side. This will be so much fun. I'm hoping I get them in today. It's supposed to be here today, so if it comes today, I'm gonna make a video today of the first adventures of Kowalski, the penguin.
That's awesome.
I thought everybody was gonna pick Monk because, you know, penguins in Madagascar they fight kung fu. So I listed all the classes. I had them vote on the class. So artificer, monk, rogue, cleric, the whole classes of D&D. everyone picked Artificer because, okay, everyone wants to be an Artificer. That's fine. And I was like, okay, now we need to pick a race. And I listed all the races, and I listed Aarakocra Penguin. And then I put the penguin emoji. And then in parentheses, I put, yes, a penguin, because I have a penguin homebrew. And yeah, everybody wanted the penguin. So now I'm going to be waddling around.
That's amazing.
Oh, man. So yeah, hopefully, whenever I shoot you a DM, you can be the guest NPC who tells Kowalski what to do.
I'm all about being a good NPC.
Oh yeah, man. So hey, just think of a quest to give Kowalski. Just have it ready. I'm gonna hit you up eventually because I'm gonna hit up everyone.
Oh, I got a stack. This is gonna be great.
Yeah, it's gonna be fucking awesome. All right, man. So since we're way past the time that we said we were gonna do, which I knew was gonna happen, it's been a really, really great interview. Like I love like interviewing like people like yourself because it's super easy to talk. You're super easy to talk to. We have an abundance of stories that we can bounce around each other. So I'm very hopeful that you'll be back on for another episode.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
If you're not, everyone who's watching, go to TikTok like right now. Go follow Cuddle B Honer. And I think I know what it means now. After like reading on the screen, I'm like, that's a good one.
Plausible deniability.
Yeah, plausible deniability. Go follow him, check out his content. He has some really great stuff there. Also, you guys can follow me on TikTok up there, Wences the DM, and maybe you'll get chosen to pull from one of these. Also want to say thank you.
Careful, there's some bad things.
Yeah. Also want to give a huge thank you to Hit Point Press for sponsoring the stream. Again, if you guys want to purchase one of these yourself, click on the panel down below. Use my link. It gives me a little kickback to improve the content all across my platforms. But before we go, Mr. Jesse, I need you to pull a card. You can give me any number you want, or you can have me roll a dice. I have every single dice but a D100.
I want the third card down and the sixth card down.
Okay, third card down, and then 4, 5, 6 card down. All right. Hello Operator pulled okay. so hopefully it's better. Okay. Oh, okay, so you got the comment. So if you single-handedly kill the next creature you encounter, or creatures, you instantly gain a level.
Okay.
Not bad. All right, last card. The Fool. I like this card. Why? Because it's very menacing and it's very annoying. So you lose 10,000 XP. You discard this card, and you draw again. And if losing that XP would cause you to lose a level, you lose just enough to stay at your current level. So you get to pull one more card. All right.
Let's do...
Oh, that's bad. Oh, that's bad. I just pulled top of the deck.
All I hear is it's
man.
a great challenge now because I have to fight whatever has my soul, and if I win, I get a level out of it.
Yeah, so this black card spells disaster. Your soul is drawn from your body and contained in an object of the place of the DM's choosing. One or more powerful beings guard this place. While your soul is trapped in this way, your body is incapacitated. A wish spell reveals the location of the object that holds it. You draw no more cards. But hey, if they can free you out and you kill it, you gain a level.
It's just the ultimate boss challenge. All right, I yoinked you away. Now if you beat me up, you get a free level. Good luck.
Right? Hey, but not bad cards. I'm trying to do this with everyone who comes on here, so I can clip this and post it on TikTok because I love pulling cards for people. But again, man,
the deck of many things is amazing.
Thank you so much for coming on and taking the whole 2 hours.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me. This was
talking
great.
D&D. Yeah, man. If you ever want to come back on, you can shoot me a DM. I'll be more than happy to have you on, or even have you on as a co-host if you have the time. But yeah, guys, tune in next week. We should have DM Katie on, if not Meg the Sorceress. Again, thank you guys for coming out. If you are from the future on YouTube, hello. So this video is going to be on YouTube tomorrow at 12 o'clock noon. Again, if you haven't followed this man yet, please go follow him on TikTok. Cuddle Be Honer. He has some amazing content. I will see you guys next Saturday, same time, same place. Thank you guys for watching. I will catch you guys next Saturday.